Hey, it's Barb. Welcome to the Pink Radish Vegan Kitchen. Got my cameraman Steve,
Okay.
and today we are going to make jackfruit. You know me and I love my jackfruit, but we're going to make beef dip sandwiches, vegan beef dip sandwiches. So let's get busy and let me show you how we do it. So you know the basis of every good beef dip sandwich is the au jus. You got to have a great au jus in order to have the flavor and that really warm, yummy dipping sort of experience that comes with a good beef dip sandwich. So as you know, we're going to use jackfruit as our meat in this, and we're going to do that later, but I want to show you how the au jus comes together. First of all, we've got a 1/4 cup of onions that's going to go in a pan. Then we've got garlic, of course, everything always has garlic. And what we did was we put the beef broth into 2 cups of water. And this is the Orrington Farms, is the no beef broth that I use. This is really delicious. It has a great flavor to it. It's gonna really be the star of this show. Then we have the liquid aminos is part of it as well. I also added Worcestershire in here, vegan Worcestershire. And then it gets a 1/4 cup of red wine. And so I'm just using a drinkable Cabernet Sauvignon. And when I say drinkable, I mean that you would drink it in a glass. You're not going to buy cheap wine and try to make cheap wine taste good. So let me, this is our, I'm going to add a 1/4 cup. Oh, I think that might be more. Oh well. So we're going to go over to the stove, and I'm going to get the ingredients, or let me bring the pan over here. I'll bring the pan over, and we will get the onions and the garlic into the pan. This is my new cutting board, which I got the other day. So there we go. The onions and the garlic are in the pan with just a little bit of oil in there, and I'm going to set it on the stove. This needs to brown a little tiny bit and become translucent. But let me talk about the jackfruit. I know I've talked about jackfruit before, and if you've seen the video on my playlist of jackfruit, it's the vegan ribs that I made. That video is very popular. If you haven't watched it, please watch it. I give a little philosophy lesson of why we cook sometimes the things we do, such as ribs or a beef dip sandwich, and beef is in quotations because you know we don't enjoy eating meat. But anyway, this is the jackfruit that I use. This comes from Trader Joe's. I love this jackfruit. But one of the things that I learned from my very inspiring mentor, Chef Gaz Oakley, he's a vegan chef out of the UK. He was making some bao buns, and I'll get around to that. But he used jackfruit, and one of the things he taught me when you're using jackfruit is that you need to squeeze it and squeeze as much moisture out, because this is packed in brine in this can, and it's kind of like tofu. Tofu is packed in water, the jackfruit is packed in water, and as a result of that, we want to make sure that we get as much water out as we can. Because when you take the water out, then when you put the jackfruit in its liquid, it will absorb the flavors of the liquid. And that's what we're doing. So I got really inventive, and guess what I did? Is I put the can of jackfruit into my tofu press. I have it down on the very bottom layer, or the very bottom rung, the elastic band, and I am squeezing out the water so that it'll be very dry when I get ready to use this in a few minutes. Now we're gonna, when the onions and the garlic are somewhat soft, we're gonna add the liquid, and then we have to let this reduce down by a cup. So it's going to get really concentrated, and all those flavors are going to come together so that it will make 2 cups of au jus. The jackfruit has been pressing for about 20 minutes in the tofu press. The alternative way that you can get your jackfruit nice and dry is to take a clean kitchen towel, put the jackfruit in it, and then wring it out. Squeeze it and squeeze it so that there's a ball in the towel, and just keep squeezing and squeezing. That will also take the water out. But I'm really pleased about how this came out. This is really, really great. There's the squeezed up jackfruit. It's very dry. Let me show you if I can show you any water. There is a little bit in there, but I've already drained it out one time. This is why I like this tofu press so much, is it has a reservoir to catch liquid. And then when you put the block of tofu or anything you want to squeeze, it squeezes out the bottom, out these holes here. And then the top goes on, and this is where the pressure is added with these little rubber bands, and it flips over, and then you lock it in place. This is sold on Amazon. I'll put the link below. So we are ready to do the jackfruit part of our French dip sandwiches. This is jackfruit that I took out of the tofu press, and then I put it on the stove in the skillet, less than a teaspoon of oil. I basically dry pan roasted it, because you remember, you want to get as much of the liquid out of the jackfruit as you can. And then we put a little caramelization on here, which is going to add a lot of flavor to the broth as well. Then what we're doing is we're going to add the broth. Let me talk about the broth. We're adding vegetable bouillon, but it's beef flavored. We also added another 1/4 cup of red wine. There is some more Worcestershire in here, vegan Worcestershire, and a little bit of liquid aminos. So now this goes into our dried up jackfruit, and we're going to give it a stir. Then this is going to go over to the stove, and it's going to reduce down till it's dry again. So basically all the flavors that are in that liquid are now going to go into this jackfruit. It's going to get nice and dry. And then the secret ingredient. As you know, I always love secret ingredients. You add a tablespoon of tahini. Now, I'm following the recipe that I'm going to post below exactly as it is written. I do that just to see if I need to change anything. So you go check out the recipe. But what I know this does in the end is it kind of brings all of the fibers together that are in here, so that it sort of sticks together, and when it goes on your bun, it's going to not all leak out all over the place. That's the purpose of the tahini. And we're going to see how that works later. Well, I'll show you how it looks when it's all done. So until a little later, and I get this cooked down, I'll be back. Here it is, bubbling in the pan, and the whole idea is to get this to reduce down, for no liquid to be in the pan, and again for the roast beef jackfruit to be completely dry. All right, as you can see, the meat is done. When I say meat, the jackfruit is done. Let me grab my spoon real quick. When we added that liquid, it was very liquidy, but now you can see that it's completely dried up and it's ready to go on the bun, except the secret ingredient, remember I told you, is tahini. So it talks about adding a tablespoon of tahini. So I'm going to pour a little bit in here and use my eye to eyeball it. And there it is in the pan. And then it mixes in. And this is what kind of, like I said, is going to bind everything together. Yeah, this says it makes enough for 4, probably, they look like about 5 or 6 inch rolls in the recipe. But yeah, this is ready now for dinner. It's time to assemble our sandwiches. So let me show you what I've got going on here. First, I have the buns split, and I've got the chow cheese. This is the chow cheese, the vegan almond milk cheese. This is very delicious. If you're lactose intolerant, I would definitely suggest you give this a try. It comes into convenient slices, so it's just like any other processed cheese. You can just peel off a slice and use it in your recipe. Now also it called to make a little mayonnaise and horseradish. So this is mayonnaise and horseradish, and there's my horseradish. We use Vegan-A's, which is a plant-based mayonnaise, so there's no eggs in it. It actually tastes really great. I don't mind the taste of it being any different. Now if I ever happen to eat a sandwich that has real mayonnaise on it, which doesn't happen very often, it tastes a little heavy to me because of all of the flavor, the intense flavor of the oil and the eggs. It really feels a little heavy to me. That might be a little yummy little sauce for the meat. And then we're going to take and put some meat on here. So excuse my fingers, but it's just Steve and I tonight. So it's about a half a cup of the meat for each sandwich. And there'll be a little bit left over. I'm making 3 sandwiches. Maybe each of us have a sandwich and a half for dinner. And this meat.
Sure.
Do you have something to say, cameraman?
Well, you may want to just say it's not really meat, it's jackfruit.
Yeah, it is jackfruit.
Meat in quotation part.
Yeah. When you're in my kitchen, in my vegan kitchen, and I say meat, you know I'm not talking about meat. I'm talking about some sort of meat that I've created. And the final piece that I'm going to add is going to be some sauteed onions. And they go on the top here in a very nice little pile. And this is going to be a great sandwich. I saw this recipe, I think about a week ago. It came from one of the food bloggers, and that's the recipe I'm going to post for you. And this recipe just is really, it's not hard to make. I mean, you've seen me make it. It's just there's steps involved, and maybe there are more steps than what you want. But remember, we're always trying to get people to get excited about eating at home and not going out and getting food that they don't know anything about or where it came from. So there you have it. It's a beautiful sandwich. And then it goes on the plate. And we're going to pour a little au jus into the bowl. And you're going to dunk your way into heaven. Let me get this one too. You can hear this bang, bang, bang over there. Paris is eating dinner too. So there, another beautiful sandwich. And let me cut one in half so you can see how yummy it looks inside. This is actually, like I said, a very easy recipe, not complicated at all, very straightforward. And if you're interested in having, more meatless meals or you're vegan, this is a great, really tasty sandwich. And I think anybody who tries this will agree that the deliciousness factor of this is a 10. I think we already know because we've tried the meat and everything. You can see how easily that'll get dipped into there. And it's dinner. You ready? You ready?
Ready.
All right, thanks for tuning in, everybody. It's my pleasure to show you these recipes and to encourage you to make them and to cook at home where you can control your nutrition.